All right, guys, so let's do our next lesson for the week. And again, I apologize, I'm at home, so this light aura thing around my head isn't like my divine essence or presence. It's the dang light from the living room. So if I turn that off, then light just comes streaming in from the windows. It's a lose-lose proposition. So you're just going to have to deal with it, and that's just it. So what we're going to do today is, and again, today is the class that you're not physically in class for, or if you're one of my C students, this is your class for the week. I'm going to post something later on in the week as well. But we're going to start, our first unit of the year is going to be criminal law. Before we get into that, we're going to read a page from the textbook, and I'm going to give you like a brief introduction into law itself. So we had our first case where you can see how a case brief works, where you can see how we get law from cases. You're going to learn in civics, and this isn't wrong, but it is kind of wrong. You're going to learn in civics class that there are three branches of government: the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. You're then going to learn that only the legislative branch makes laws. And again, that's not really true. Because every time a judge makes a decision, every time a court makes a decision, for the most part, aren't they in truth creating a new law? When you look at Regina versus Dudley and Stevens, the question the court was trying to answer was, is necessity ever a valid defense for murder? Because the court answered no, necessity is never a valid defense for murder, except in the case of self-defense, they've in truth made a new law, right? From that point on, if there were a bunch of sailors in a lifeboat and they chose to sacrifice someone to save themselves, that would never be an okay proposition. That would be seen as being murder. Or if you're ever in a situation where you decide to sacrifice someone else to save yourself, that is never an okay thing to do. Necessity is never a justification for murder. So in truth, they made a new law. So I did that case first to show you where we get our law from, how important it is when a court makes a decision, all that sort of stuff. And so you can start the foundation of knowing certain laws. So today we're going to use the textbook. If you're going to be in class this week, we're going to do this together. If you're a C student, here's what I need you to do. So let's see if I can make this work. All right, so it's not what I want. Not what I want. There we go. All right. The textbook is called Street Law. Now, if you're one of my students as well, all my students, if you're one of the students that is actually an A or a B in class, or a D student, you can do this too. You can get the textbook online. If you're a C student, you have to do this. You don't have a choice. You need to get your hands on this textbook, and it's offered for you online for free. So if you could see all this up here, I need you guys to go here. HTTPS, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Connect, McGraw-Hill.com, connect, login, .do. Okay? Your login is your computer login at lpsb.org. So for example, whatever your computer login is, that's your login name to get onto this textbook. So jsmith2 at lpsb.org. Now your password should be the same one you use to log onto a computer. It should be to capitalize the first letter of your first name, followed by your student ID. So for example, if your name is James, it'd be capital J, then your student ID 015687. Now, what they told me was if your student ID is only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits, it has to be 6. So if you only have a 5-digit student ID, you got to put 0 in front of your student ID, and that will actually make it work, okay? If you have any problems with that, send me a message and let me know. If you haven't figured it out by now, messaging on Google Classroom or leaving comments and stuff is very difficult, and it doesn't work really well. So we're all kind of trying this thing together. We're learning as we go. So at least for the first couple of weeks, the stuff that I grade, the stuff that I pick up when if there's a problem and I push an assignment back, and you can have your parents listen to these lectures too. They can contact me. I do respond to email, and if not, if I don't respond, call the office. They'll yell at me. They'll tell me, gee, check your damn email, and I'll look at it and I'll figure it out, but we're going to take this step by step. It's going to be a little difficult. So I care more that you're, at least right now, if you're one of my C students, that you're following along, and at least you're understanding the ideas and stuff that we're covering. It's going to get easier. We're doing from the textbook now, not a case brief. So hopefully it's a little bit easier for you to follow along. And if not, just message me and talk to me. You've seen that I've been more than accommodating with everyone so far. So the one thing I don't want you to worry about in this class, if I've never seen you in person, is the one thing I don't mess around with, and I joke about everything, are your grades. Your grades are super important. So if something happens, if something comes up, we'll deal with it as we go. The only time you're going to get a really bad grade for something is if I know I was clear about explaining it, which hasn't been the case so far. The case briefs are difficult to understand when you can't ask me questions, in real time, or if you just don't do something, okay? So when you do get your textbook open, I want you to turn to page 11. Now, page 11, we're going to talk about different kinds of laws. And this is important because really there are two branches of law. There's criminal law and there's civil law. And when you see the vocabulary pop up on the screen, I want you to copy that into your notes. You have, I think today, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 vocab words. Then I'm going to show you the assignment we're going to do for the vocabulary. Okay, so let's start this. Now I'm going to read from the book. Again, if you're in class, we're going to do this together. If you're one of my C students, just read along with me, look at it, and let's see. So the kinds of laws. I've already said laws fall into two major groups, criminal and civil. Criminal laws regulate public conduct and set out duties owed to society. A criminal case can be brought only by the government against a person charged with committing a crime. Criminal laws have penalties, and convicted offenders are imprisoned, fined, placed under supervision, or punished in some other way. So the definition for criminal law for your class, what you need to know, is it's the branch of law dealing with crimes and their punishments. So the government makes a law. Do not murder someone. If you murder someone, the government will bring charges against you, put you on trial, attempt to prove that you did break that law, and then punish you for breaking that law. That is the criminal law system. In criminal law, only the government can bring charges against someone. You can't just, you don't, and see, there's always this, when you hear people say, I want to press charges, I don't want to press charges. It's not necessarily your call. The government is the entity that gets to decide whether or not you are going to be charged with a crime. No one else has that ability. That's why if you get arrested for a crime and put on trial, it's going to be the people of the state of Louisiana or the state of Louisiana versus, if it was me, Evan Galopter. Right? The government versus me. The government then has the burden of showing that I committed a crime, that I'm guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm innocent until proven guilty. And then if I'm found guilty, to punish me for violating said law. So that's the criminal law system, right? A good way to remember the difference between criminal law and civil law is in criminal law, you can end up in prison. You can get punished. You can end up in prison for that. Doesn't happen in civil law, all right? Now, in the United States legal system, criminal offenses are divided into felonies and misdemeanors. You've heard of this, felonies and misdemeanors. Felonies, such as murder or robbery, are more serious crimes. The penalty for a felony is a term of more than 1 year in prison. For a misdemeanor, the penalty is a prison term of 1 year or less. Less serious crimes, such as simple assault or minor theft, are called misdemeanors. So, your definition for a felony is going to be a serious criminal offense. Examples are murder, arson, rape, things like that. These are the serious crimes, the ones that can land you in prison, usually for more than a year. And again, remember that this textbook is not Louisiana specific. In fact, the class itself is not Louisiana specific. I have a law degree from a Louisiana law school. I'm going to chime in and tell you when there are differences. For example, first-degree murder, the elements it gives us in the book are a little bit different than the elements for first-degree murder in Louisiana. But we're going to go off the book. We have no choice. We have to. So here, just to make it as general as possible, a felony is a serious criminal offense or a serious crime that is usually punishable by over a year in prison. This is when you think of someone getting sent to like Angola, let's say. Okay? All right, a misdemeanor is a criminal offense less serious than a felony. That's not the best definition in the world, but that's pretty much what it is. So misdemeanors, a simple assault, simple battery, jaywalking, speeding, things like that, things that you think you might get a ticket for. All right, these can be, punishable with a fine, sometimes a short jail sentence. things like that, usually punishable by less than a year in jail or prison. All right. So when you hear the word felony, think a major crime. When you hear the word misdemeanor, think a less serious crime. All right. So now my favorite law, civil law. All right. I'll tell you the way that I remember what civil law is. By the way, I apologize. I realize I'm wearing this like striped shirt. I don't like the way it looks. Like I usually just wear all black, and I'm looking at myself in this camera right here, and I don't like it. It's throwing me off. I keep trying to like teach you, and I'm struck by these stripes. So this is not going to happen again, right? So civil laws, as we keep reading, civil laws regulate relations between individuals or groups of individuals. A civil action is a lawsuit that can be brought by a person who feels wronged or injured by another person. Courts may award the injured person money for the loss, or they may order the person who committed the wrong to make amends in some other way. An example of a civil action is a lawsuit for recovery of damages suffered in an automobile accident. Civil laws regulate many everyday situations such as marriage, divorce, contracts, real estate, insurance, consumer protection, and negligence. We're going to cover all of that. So don't fret, my pets, will get there. So what is civil law? This is the worst definition ever, but it works. You'll understand why when we talk about it. Civil law is all law that does not involve criminal matters. Thanks. We just talked about criminal law, so everything else must be civil law. What does civil law mean? This is my favorite law. You guys like the criminal law better, but I actually like this, and I'll tell you why. The way I remember civil law is, you ever hear when older people, and I am not an older person, I'm 38, so don't even give me that nonsense, right? I don't say things like this. When people are fighting, they say, stop fighting, be civil. Can't we just be civil? The way I remember civil law is I think about it like this. How in society do we keep ourselves from fighting when someone does you wrong? That's what the civil law system is all about. So the biggest example you guys know of civil law are the personal injury attorneys that you see, like Get Gordon and those guys, right? I'll give you an example. I drive the smallest car known to man. It is a Mitsubishi Mirage. I'm a very large man. I once put 3 other large men in this car, and it maybe would top out at like 25 miles an hour. You might hit 30 if we got downhill with the wind behind us. That's how tiny this car is. It's got like 4 bicycle tires on it. It's ridiculous, right? But it's still my car. It's my baby. It's going to be my daughter's first car, right? She hates when I say that, so I'm just throwing that out there. Let's say I leave school today, and I pull out, and you are in your brand new F950 dually triple axle monster, whatever the heck you're driving sort of thing, and you're not paying attention, and you smash into the back of my car. You cause me $5,000 worth of damage. I don't have $5,000. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher with a law degree and a ton of student loans. You think I have $5,000 to spend to fix that car? Is it fair that I should have to pay money out of my own pocket to fix the damage that you caused because of your mistake? So what if I ask you, hey, help me fix my car, and you say, gee, no. Well, now what do? Do I fight you? If I fight you, I've committed battery. I'm now in the criminal law system. I can go to jail. So how do we keep things civil? I sue you. I bring you to court. And I say, Your Honor, I was doing nothing wrong. I was in the right. He or she was in the wrong. Their mistake caused me damage. It's not fair that I should have to fix it. They should have to fix it. They should have to put me back the way I was before they messed up. That's what civil law is all about. Now, here's what I want you to know. A lot of you abuse the word sue. I hear it all the time. I'm going to sue him and get rich. Guys, that's not how this works. All right? If the point of civil law, if the point of lawsuits is to be fair, right? It's not fair that you injured me and now I have to pay for it. How fair would it be that if you crashed into my car and caused me $5,000 worth of damage, that I could sue you for $10 million? You didn't damage me for $10 million worth. Therefore, I can't demand that from you. People, for the most part, with an exception, we'll talk about that later on in the year, do not get rich from lawsuits. When you see someone on TV for an attorney saying, this guy got me $10 million, well, yeah, he probably did. But at the bottom of the screen is going to be a little star, and in writing you can't read, it's going to say this is an actor portrayal. Why? Because the actual person who got $10 million is not sitting on a beach somewhere sipping a pina colada enjoying their life. They're probably seriously injured and unable to work for the rest of their lives. So here's an example of a big money lawsuit. Same scenario. I'm driving my car. I pull out from school. You crash into me. You not only damage my car, you paralyze me from the eyes down. So all I can do is move my eyebrows for the rest of my life. That's it. Can I work again? No. So I am now unable to work. I am now unable to provide for my family, to take care of myself. What do? You wronged me. It's your fault. So how on earth am I going to be able to take care of myself? Well, what will happen is my attorney and I'll go to him and say, look, let's pretend that I make $40,000 a year. And I'm 38, so I could have been working for the next 28 years. They're going to take 40,000, 20 years. They're going to take 40,000 times 20, like $800,000. And I'm going to sue you for that $800,000 because you stole that from me. By you hurting me, by you damaging me, I now can no longer work. Isn't it fair that you fix that? And on top of that, the $5,000 to pay for the car to have it fixed. And on top of that, any medical issues that I have because of your accident, because of your mistake. That's when you see the big money. So that person who won $10 million from a lawsuit is probably in an iron lung somewhere, unable to work or move for the rest of their life. That's what civil law does, though. The idea is to put you back in the position you were before the person made a mistake and committed their accident. That's what it's about. No one gets rich from lawsuits, not the way you guys think. So get that out of your head as we keep on going this year, okay? So that's civil law, my favorite law. It also includes contracts, marriage, all of that stuff. And we're going to cover all of it. I just wanted to get the lawsuit thing out of the way. So a civil action is a lawsuit. That's all you write. It's a lawsuit. So I want you guys to start speaking more lawyerly and say, instead of he sued him, you could say he brought a civil action against him. That's what I want you to think of. All right. So that's civil law. Now, the last paragraph, and then I'm going to tell you what to do. Sometimes behavior can violate both civil and criminal laws and can result in 2 court cases. If you crash into me and cause me damages, I can sue you. If you crash into me, cause me damage, and let's say killed me, then you might also be charged with a crime. So there's a criminal issue and a civil issue, right? A criminal case is brought by the government against a defendant, the person accused of committing the crime. A civil case is brought by the plaintiff, the person or company harmed against the defendant. This is important. In a criminal case, there is no plaintiff. There's the government versus the defendant. In a civil case, there is the plaintiff versus the defendant. So what is the defendant? What word do you see in defendant? The person against whom a legal claim is made. Okay, the person against whom a legal claim is made. All right, sorry, got to text my daughter for just a second. So the person against whom a legal claim is made, that's a defendant. So if you break the law, the government is going to press charges against you, put you on trial. They are accusing you. You are the defendant. You must defend. What word do you see in defendant? Defend. You must defend yourself. There's some legal claim being made against you, and you have to defend yourself. All right. If I sue you, I am the plaintiff. You are the defendant. So the plaintiff in a civil case, and it's only in a civil case. There is no plaintiff in a criminal case. It's the government versus defendant in a criminal case. In a civil case, it's plaintiff versus defendant. The plaintiff in a civil case is the person who is injured in bringing the action. So if you hurt me by crashing into me and I sue you, I'm injured, I'm bringing the action, I'm bringing a civil action, I'm suing you for the damages you caused me, okay? That's it. That's all we're going to do today. 7 words. Just a brief introduction into law. So why did I do that? Here's why. I want to start you on your vocabulary assignment. You guys are going to like this. For my C students, it will be due any word I give you from now until next Thursday. So not this Thursday, next Thursday. That will be the, let's see if I can just break my computer here. Whoop. Hang on. So that will be the 27th. Will be due on Friday the 28th. So any word I give you from now till next Thursday will be due on Friday the 28th. For my B students, I'm going to talk to you in class tomorrow about when your vocab's due. A students, you already know, due next Friday that I see you, okay? So what you guys are going to do is you're going to take a sheet of paper, all right? It could be lined paper, it could be white paper. I know white paper is expensive, so don't do that if you don't have it. And what you're going to do is you are going to create a 4-corner vocabulary activity. These are worth 200 points apiece, okay? In the top left, you have to write the word. So the first word today was criminal law. And by the way, I did this. That little potato in jail, I drew him. Look at that. You're going to write the word, top left. That gets you 50 out of 200 points. Okay? If you get a 0 on this, you did nothing. You chose to get a 0. So criminal law on the top left. In the bottom left, you write the definition that I gave you. All right? So definition of criminal law, the branch of law dealing with crimes and their punishment. This is 100 out of 200 points, 50%. There is no reason you can't get a 50% on this activity. In the bottom right, you have to use the word in a sentence. The reason I didn't make you copy the whole definition down is because you can then use the book for sentences. However, if I don't think you understand the sentence, you get no credit. Try and come up with one yourself. If you can't, use the book for help, but you have to use the word in a sentence. So I wrote criminal laws have penalties and convicted offenders are often in prison. That's 50 points. You see, I used the word right there, criminal laws, in a sentence that works. You can't write, I don't like criminal laws. I don't like civil laws. Great. I don't like that I have to grade it if you're going to write something like that. So you have to use it in the correct sentence. In the top right, you have to draw a picture that represents that word. So since we talked about someone going to jail in criminal law, I drew what looks like a potato in jail. And it works. Okay, so illustrate it, to draw in color. You guys at home, like you to take a picture of each one, and then I'll tell you how to turn it in before next Friday. All right, and you can do front and back, all that. And remember, your art doesn't count. I'm not grading your art, I'm grading your effort in did you really think about something that represents that word. Some of the art from the students in class is hilarious, and I will make fun of it, okay? So just be aware of that. But it's for your own good. It builds character, okay? So that's it, guys. That's the gist of the lesson for today. This week is going to be easy because I need you to start. The point of last week and this week is for you to see how I do the assignments, not so much the information you're going to learn. Because when we come back next week, we start criminal law. Then you have to learn elements of crimes and put it all together. I'm going to give you scenarios that you're going to have to use what we've learned and apply it to these stories and pick out crimes. So it gets exponentially harder, okay? But for now, this is an easy assignment. If you have any questions, ask. This is all we're doing for the week. I'll post some refreshers as we go. And again, guys, I apologize when I say that I'm going to post something, and if I haven't gotten to it, you have to remember this is new for all of us. A lot of us have stuff going on in the afternoons as well, and it does become a problem. At least on Sundays, I can regroup, consolidate, reorganize, and get these lessons out and make sure you guys are taken care of, okay? So for now, look at those 7 words, get your textbook offline, do this vocabulary activity. It's what we're going to be doing in class, and you're going to be, if you're in class this week, you're going to be finishing your case briefs as well, all right? So until next time, enjoy, guys.